Hello dears, today we'll make a revision of what we took in science. We talked about the adaptation and we knew about it that adaptation it's a traits or characteristics that the animals or plants use to survive. And we talked about survive, that's mean is to stay alive. Help them to stay alive, help them to protect themselves from the enemies to eat it. So these are called adaptation. Then we talk about the penguins and we talk about the penguins has a blood vessels. Those blood vessels help the penguins to can adapt on this critical cold climate. The blood vessels help the penguins to get or to bring the hot or warm blood to their feet, and at the same time it gets the cold blood up and get the hot one down to its feet and take the cold blood up, and this is the motion of its blood. That's why it keeps always its feet is warm during this snow that it lives in. The other thing we talked about camouflage, and we knew that camouflage is a trait that help living organisms to can hide from enemies. And many animals use the camouflage to stay alive and to survive, like the first one, the polar bear. Polar bear has a snow white color. Why it has a white color? Polar bear lives in snow in the polar habitat. So there's much snow covers many areas. Its white color help it for two things. The first one, it help it to hide from its enemies, and at the same time it's hiding so it can catch its prey, can catch fish easily without the fish see it. So this is called the camouflage in the polar bear. Another thing related to the color, which is a brown bear. Look at you see, this is a brown bear, has a brown color. And the brown bear lives in forests where there's much trees there. So it can hide among these trees by using its color. This is called camouflage. The other thing here, the caracal in fennec fox. The unique thing in the fennec fox, like as you see in this picture, it has a golden colored fur or sandy colored fur. This color help it to can hide between rocks and cannot be seen. I mean camouflage. Listen guys, anything that's related to using a color or changing color to hide from enemies, this is called camouflage. Again, anything use its color to change or to hide among the surrounding, whatever it was. Forest is for brown bear, snow for polar bear, desert and fennec fox. These are all use their color to hide. This is called camouflage. Another thing here, which is the caracal. Caracal is the same like the fennec fox. It has sandy colored fur, which help it to hide in desert. The other thing we have the lizard. Lizard also lives in desert, and when it lives in desert, it has a colorful rocks. This has a colorful scales and can hide it in between the rocks. So lizard can make two things. The first thing, it has a colorful scales to help it to hide between rocks, and the other thing is when you see so sunny place, it can hide and move to a shaded area. Shaded area, I mean a area where is much shadow in there. So here we have some exercise. Let's solve them together. So the first one, adaptation helps living organisms in all the following characters except mean the one that's not. Of course, doesn't help in death. So, if you catch piece of ice in your hand, you will begin to lose the feelings in your fingers after few minutes. Number 3, the presence of the isolating layer of keeps the penguin's body warm. So we have fats and thick downy feathers. So this number C. Ecosystem. Ecosystem is a type of adaptation, one of the human body system, a habitat where the living organisms live in it. So it's a habitat where living organisms can stay there. Number C. The presence of thick white fur in the adaptation, and thick and white fur it's in the polar bear. Write a scientific term. An animal that has a layer of fat and thick downy feathers. Listen, feathers, so it's penguin. So number 1 is penguin. Okay. It covers the body of some types of pears to blend in with the snow and keeps its body warm, which is the fatty layer. At the same time, it is the fur. Number 3, a type of foxes that has a sandy colored fur to adapt in desert. Fennec fox. Ear fur. Properties that help animals to blend and hide in their surrounding. This is called camouflage. This third agama lizard always looking for shade area in desert to protect itself from the hot sunny weather. To protect itself from hot sunny weather. Fennec fox has a sandy colored fur while polar bear has a white fur. Both of them used it to hide in their surrounding, for fennec fox to hide in desert and the polar bear to hide in polar habitat, which is the snow. What happens if the warm blood vessels and cold blood vessels in the penguin's feet are not weaved around each other? So listen, its feet has no fatty layers, so it couldn't keep itself warm at all. That's why it has these blood vessels. So what if it doesn't have these blood vessels? So it could never feel good in this snow. It could use its leg. It could not use it. Why? Because it will feel extreme cold weather and cannot adapt there and may die. The other one, the polar bear, has a thin fur instead of thick fur. So it will feel this cold, extreme weather and couldn't adapt there, so it could die. Compare between the habitat of penguins, live in polar bears and polar habitats, like a polar bear, and the fennec fox live in deserts. The body coated by thick and fatty layer feathers for penguins, and here it's sandy colored fur. The other thing that we talked about that was the types of adaptations. Adaptations has many types, but these two we will study today. The first one, structural adaptation and behavioral adaptation. The difference between that the structural adaptation, those are change and structure inside your body, like an organ, and you are born with that. God created, you have no hand in it, like the skin color and fur color, like blood vessels and thick fur, fatty layer, the color scales, the brown fur and polar and the brown bear, and the behavioral, like the thing you do, you act, you have a reason of it, you are who the responsible for it. For example, even we are in summer we wear a light bright clothes. This is a behavioral because we do it. It's an act, okay? And in winter we use heavy wool things. This is why to keep us warm. So it's like we do it. We're not born with that. Okay, so we are the responsible for it. And behavioral adaptation in the lizard. Lizard find its shaded area when it feels sunny. When there's a sunny weather, so it go and sit in the shaded area. This is a behavioral. Why? Because she do it. Okay? Or the migration. Sometimes we see the birds flying at the sunset. They are migration. This is behave. Here another thing we have, which is the bull shark. The bull shark and the chameleon. The difference between them that the bull shark has lives in both things, fresh and salty water, which is a unique advantage for it. So the shark back has a dark blue, and its belly is covered with white color, and that's why the dark blue help it to stay unseen. Look at this picture. Here, this is its back. This is its back. Here. Its back here, it's a dark one. And its belly is a white. If it was undersea, down at the deep down sea, here the enemies will move. When it look, it will see it at the same color of the sea, which is dark. It's back, so it can hide. The other thing, like if the enemy was down below it, here in that part, so he will look above. He will see the white belly like the right abit, which is the light bright place of the sea. So it seems like that part, it couldn't also be seen and can hide inside. The other thing, it has a sharp teeth to tear the prey's flesh or to eat it. It has also a behavioral adaptation. Why? Because it could hunt in the salty water and fresh water. I mean, it's migrate to leave its place. And it hunts in the day and the night, both of them. The other thing about the chameleon actually it lives in the rainforests, and it has a bright colored scales to camouflage with the surrounding. It can blend up with the surrounding. Surrounding mean the around place, the place around it. so it can change its color to be fit with the surrounding. I mean, if you put it on a white paper, it will turn into white. If you put it in a green one, it will turn its color into green. And the other thing, it has a V-shaped feet and a long tail to can hold it tightly in the branches of trees. The other thing, its eyes can move in all directions. I mean, can look in front of it and backward and all directions. The other thing, it's when it feels danger. So this about the structural adaptation inside it. And the behavioral, like when it's feel any danger, it can puffs up. Puffs up, I mean fill its body with air and open its mouth very wide and change the color scale to can hide, which is a type of camouflage. And this is its color. So let's solve this together. The color of fur in fennec fox protects them from hot sun because they already lives in desert. Fennec fox have a tan colored coat that provides in the environment camouflage. Fennec fox and Arctic foxes live in the burrows. This belong to behavioral. Why behavioral? Because they are do this. The other thing, all the following properties help fennec fox to stay cool, except making panting. The changing the color of the body coat of the Arctic foxes according to the seasons. This is type of the change the color of body coat. Change the color. So behavioral or change the way of breathing, physical adaptation, change the way of course it's physical. Physical means structural. Something belongs to its body. All the following properties help the Arctic fox to stay warm except the Arctic fox has no tan-colored or short legs. Short legs. One short legs. Both fennec fox and Arctic fox are similar in all the following, except they have no the same. They have no the same habitat, of course. The Arctic fox lives in polar habitat, while the fennec fox lives in desert. Bull shark lives in both seas and rivers, in oceans, because this sea and oceans has a salty water, while rivers has a fresh water. From the physical adaptation, I mean the structural of the bull shark, that they live in both or flexible when they eat, hunt all day, can live in salty. Of course, they can live in both. Which partner can when the chameleon stands within leaves in trees, the color of its scales turn into leaves of trees, so it will be green. Special eyes of the panther chameleon are belong to the structural, because it has something is born with structural only. Is considered as a behavioral adaptation in the panther chameleon, puffing up its body with air. The other thing that we have, which is the adaptation implants. Adaptation implants, we have many types of plants here. The first one The Kabuk Tree. Kabuk Tree lives in soggy water. Why it lives in soggy water? Because it can muddy water or wet one, wet soil. So it can fix its roots down. So it has a very buttress or a strong roots to fix it inside it. At the same time, it has a trunk. It's a trunk, which is this part is called trunk. This trunk is so strong. The other thing that we have, which is Akasha Tree. We talked Akasha Tree last year and we will make a revision on that also. Akasha Tree lives in deserts and savanna forests in Africa, so it can lose much water and it needs also much water. So it has two things to keep its water, not lose it, which is it has a so long roots underground to travel many spaces below to find its food. The other thing, it has a coated layer. Its leaves is coated with a waxy layer to help it to prevent losing of water. The other thing here we have the mangrove tree. Mangrove tree lives in salt water, so it has so long, strong roots to resist the water waves. And the one after, which is water lily, we talked it before also, and it has a white flattened leaves to stay not to sink, to stay floating, and the other thing, its leaves is covered by waxy layer to not mix with water and never sinks. About the palm tree, here's the palm tree lives in desert, so it has a so long roots underground to find a water. And the other thing, it has small leaves to resist strong winds. The other thing, which is pine tree. Pine tree is a kind of the Christmas tree. So at the same time, it has a triangular shape this wide to not buried inside the ice or inside the snow. So it can stay away of the burying or to sinking inside the snow. The other thing, its leaves, like its needles leaves. Why it has needles leaves? That's to prevent it from covered with snow, or when it rainfall, the snow, it could breaking up. So the needles leaves prevent it from breaking up. The other thing, which is the Barbary fig. Barbary fig lives in deserts, so it has a sweet taste. So it could be eaten by any animal. So it has so much spines and on its leaves to protect it from being eaten from the animals. The other thing that we talk, which is digestive system. What is digestive system? Our cells is so small and so tiny places. So in your smallest too, it has about 10 million cell inside. So that gives you a picture how small is the cell. That's why when we eat a sandwich, our cell can never get this sandwich with this size. So it needs to be tearing apart and be so smaller pieces. So the digestive systems help us to breaking up the food into smallest piece ever to turn it into nutrients so the blood can absorb it and deliver it to our cells. So the first thing here, which is that digestion. So what does it mean? It means to breaking up the complex food into smaller pieces. And the digestive system consists of many things help it to do this mission, which is the breaking up of the complex food into smaller pieces to help the cell to can absorb it. The first thing here, which is the mouth. The mouth that tearing and mixing the food into smaller pieces. And when we eat something, we sometimes we feel so watery thing inside our mouth, and this watery thing's called saliva. It's created by the salivary glands. Then after it, you can swallow it inside esophagus, and the esophagus is a muscular tube to deliver the food from the mouth to the stomach. Then, after the swallowed, it reaches our stomach. Inside the stomach, there's two things. These are so important. The first one, gastric juice. Gastric juice can digest only proteins like meat, fish, like this. These proteins are digested by the gastric juice. And the other thing here we have HCl, I mean hydrochloric acid. It's an acid. This acid digests the everything at the same time, kill any bacteria you eat with the food. After it, if you eat some fats or some sweets, what happened to it? We have the liver has something called gallbladder, and this gallbladder secreted what it can secrete the bile juice. So the bile juice help in digested fats and oil. Other thing, if you eat sweets, you have pancreas. Again, pancreas. Pancreas created insulin. And this insulin help in digest sweets and sugar. And after this, the food is delivered to the small intestine. Inside the small intestine, you have all other food are digested inside, and the food is absorbed in it. You have a blood vessels around the small intestines, and these blood vessels got and absorb all nutrients that digested and deliver it to the cells. Then only the cell can eat it, then got the energy. After this, you have the wastes. The food don't completely digested, or the body doesn't want it anymore. It went to the large intestine. In large intestine, it can reach to the anus, then leave the body. And this about the process of digestion inside your body and how the cell eats. Thank you guys for today. I wish you understand it. See you next time. Goodbye.